Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Earth Week, and welcome to today's campus conversation. I'm Sharon Martin, Vice President of University Relations and Enrollment Management. Today, we are going to discuss WVU's efforts in sustainability, and I am joined today by Stephanie Toothman, Conservation Specialist for the Office of Sustainability, Traci Knabenshue, Director of the Office of Sustainability, and Ted Svehlik, Associate Vice President of Auxiliary and Business Services. We will begin today's discussion by providing some background on the importance of sustainability and talking through results of recent surveys conducted at WVU to understand sustainability priorities among our student and employee populations. We will then discuss some of the current and upcoming sustainability efforts across the university. And finally, we'll talk about WVU's participation in the Sustainability Tracking, Assessment, and Rating Systems program, otherwise known as STARS. And then, of course, next steps. We'll follow our typical campus conversation format today. Stephanie, Traci, and Ted will provide a brief presentation, and then we'll want to hear from you through our open question and answer session. We are using the Zoom webinar platform for today's discussion. And so before we begin the presentation, let's quickly walk through some of those features to help you experience today's conversation in the best way possible. To view closed captions or subtitles, click on the CC button in the bar at the bottom of your screen. If you have questions, please use the Q&A function also found at the bottom of your screen. When you click on the Q&A button, a separate screen will appear in which you can type your question. As with prior campus conversations, you will not be able to see questions submitted by others. However, we will work to answer as many of your questions as possible following today's presentation. In the interest of time, we may combine similar questions to be addressed live by our presenters. In addition, we have moderators with us today, and they'll be answering your questions via typed response in the Q&A throughout the presentation. Our moderators will not be responding to any of the submitted questions until we reach the Q&A. If you have issues with audio or video at any point during today's discussion, please be sure to check your personal Zoom settings first. But if issues persist, you can email us at campusconversations@mail.wvu.edu, and we'll be monitoring that feed throughout the presentation and can help as needed. And with that, I'll hand things over to Stephanie to kick off today's conversation.
Thank you, Sharon, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the background first. And as part of our land grant mission, WVU has really been on the forefront of many sustainability-focused initiatives that help move our campus forward into the future. And we do this through learning, teaching, research, and facilities management from both an operational and educational perspective. There are so many wonderful examples of sustainability efforts that are happening today here on our campus. But we feel that it's a bit disjointed and without clear goals or targets. And we think that this has resulted in a limited awareness and education or outreach. And simply put, there's a lot of great sustainability work going on within the university. So how can we promote that and improve that in a meaningful way? What's really neat is that sustainability has really evolved. It's less of a centralized function, and it's more about incorporating it into our lives and into the work that we do today. And whether we realize it or not, sustainability truly does touch everything that we do here at WVU. And so we think this is a great opportunity to have a unified approach. So in order to have a unified approach and map out our future, we really needed to hear from our campus community. We wanted campus input, and so we asked. If you recall, back in fall of 2019, the Sustainability Office conducted surveys to reach our campus population. And we did this for two reasons. We wanted to gain a better understanding of two things. First, we wanted to gauge the level of general awareness of sustainability on our campus. And also, we wanted to know what areas of sustainability are most important to our faculty, staff, and our students. And so we sent out a student survey as well as an employee survey, and both were centered around our 8 core areas of sustainability that are listed below. So we wanted to hear back and know if folks knew how we utilize energy conservation measures in our buildings, or that we wanted to know who knew about our sustainable food and dining programs on campus. And we certainly wanted to know if they knew how to get involved. And so those are just a few examples, but of course we focus on all 8 of the core campus areas of sustainability. So the information we received was really informative, and I'd like to share some of those survey results in the next few slides. As you can see, the majority of students and employees that took the survey feel that sustainability is either extremely or very important. And this is very encouraging because it shows that we have campus support. And even more so, we found that most students and employees have noticed those campus efforts, which really indicate that WVU does take sustainability seriously. And out of all of those that were mentioned, recycling happened to be the most common effort that they seem to be aware of the most. So in general, neither students nor employees were a bit clear on how they could contribute. However, what's interesting is that 64% of students and 94% of employees do report that they recycle, and that is a great example of how to contribute. And even more so, 65% of those students and 50% of the employees not only recycle, but they want to know how to do it right. They want to improve their efforts. What was also interesting to us is that we found that 50% of students wanted tips and resources on how to live more sustainably wherever they reside. So whether that's in a residence hall or in an apartment, they want to know how to build sustainability into their day-to-day routine. What was also interesting is that we found that 64% of employees would like to know how to green their office. So they want tips on how to conserve energy, ways to conserve resources, and creative ways to use reusable products while working at WVU. So this next slide that you see is all about sustainable actions. To the left, you'll see the responses from our students, and to the right, you'll see the responses from our employees. In the center are the sustainable actions that we asked. And what I thought was really interesting is down at the bottom, you'll see that 64% of our students and 68% of our employees, which are very similar to one another, agreed that they do their best to avoid wasting food and that they really try their best to avoid single-serve disposables at campus dining facilities. And this is really great because small examples of sustainable actions can absolutely lead to long-lasting change. So simple things to consider while dining at facilities would be to opt out of using a drinking straw, or perhaps passing on that shopping bag to have all of your food purchased in the container. So again, these are just some examples, but we are really excited to hear about what sustainable actions they currently do. And then our last slide to wrap up our survey results, which we think is wonderful to hear back from our campus community, is we asked them, what areas of sustainability are most important to you? And so from a result of that, 3 top sustainable areas were chosen. And these are in no particular order, but I'll go over them very quickly here. Our faculty, staff, and students agreed that they would like WVU to increase and expand local, healthy, and sustainable food options here on campus. They'd also like for WVU to use renewable energy to power our buildings. And they would like for the university to make our campus buildings more eco-friendly and green. So that wraps up the highlights from our surveys that were conducted in fall of 2019. And I cannot say enough how much we really appreciate all that participated and that we really value their feedback. This will certainly help guide our future direction. And so next, I'm going to pass the presentation to Traci so that she can explain the 8 core areas of sustainability in a little bit more detail, as well as the STARS program.
Thanks so much, Stephanie. So I'm going to start in the building and grounds area, and we'll go ahead and start with green cleaning. Since 2009, the operations group within facilities and services has reduced the number of different chemical containing cleaning products from over 120 to about 14. And that does two things for us. It helps us with indoor air quality from those emissions from those chemicals, and to use less packaging when we're cleaning on campus. Facilities and services also uses supplies with recycled content, such as paper towels and toilet papers, and can liners in our landfill and recycling bins. And then focusing on indoor air quality in our buildings, our paint group has reduced most of oil-based paints and aerosol-based paints, and we've moved to low or no VOC paints in our buildings. We also select common interior furnishings to help indoor air quality, and 33 out of the 40 most commonly purchased furniture items on campus have third-party sustainability certifications. Also, for buildings and grounds, we do attempt to meet LEED equivalent standards for our buildings. LEED is a program prescribed by the U.S. Green Building Council to build energy efficiency and sustainability into buildings on campuses and in businesses. And on campus, we do that through efficient heating and air conditioning systems, improved insulation, low flow water fixtures, even down to things like sightings for buildings and do they have access to alternative transportation. In the grounds area, the university started piloting LOMO areas in 2019, and the pandemic allowed us to greatly increase those locations in 2020. And leaving those areas to be mowed only once or twice a year, as opposed to weekly in some cases, can help reduce erosion and water runoff and cuts down on emissions from gas-powered equipment. We also use natural landscape waste in the same geographic zone as it is taken from, and use that in things like mulching planting beds, and the remainder we take to the university farm to be composted. We've also been recognized since 2018 as a Tree Campus Higher Education campus, and that's a program from the National Arbor Foundation that prescribes protection and management of campus trees. So we have a committee made up of faculty, staff, and students that make decisions about our trees and use best practices to maintain and protect them. In the energy side of things, which you saw was important to our faculty, staff, and students on that survey, we've had a very successful long-term performance contract with Siemens. What performance contracting does is it allows us to make energy efficient upgrades to our buildings, and then we fund those upgrades to the buildings from the utility savings that we see as a result. We've been doing this since about 2006, and you can see the results are something to be proud of. We've reduced greenhouse gas emissions by almost 600 million pounds. And you can see the metric on the side that's also saved us over $35 million. These energy efficiency upgrades usually focus on some of the same things you saw on the LEED side, the heating and air conditioning systems in our buildings, improved lighting, low flow water fixtures, and we've done this in over 60 campus buildings, and that does include some buildings in our regional campuses. We're still doing this today, and right now our phase primarily focuses on changing lighting to LED in the Health Sciences Center. Food and dining was another theme that you saw from this survey, and we've been doing a lot of different things in the dining area for sustainability. We've done 2 waste audits in our dining halls on campus. The first one was done in 2012, and the first item here, moving to trayless dining, was a result of that audit. We also repeated the audit in 2017. We are also piloting currently in Cafe Evansdale a reusable to-go box program, which we plan to expand to all dining halls in fall 2021. Dining services also purchases a percentage of locally sourced foods. We define that as within 250 miles, so that could include suppliers from West Virginia and our surrounding states. And we're committed to purchasing sustainable seafood and cage-free eggs. Dining Services has also eliminated a lot of single-serve packaging for condiments and drinks, and we continue to look for those opportunities. Most kitchen equipment used by Dining Services is certified for energy efficiency, and a lot of that's done through the Energy Star program at the federal level. We also recycle used cooking oil through a vendor who collects it from our dining halls and converts that to biodiesel fuel. In the purchasing area, we primarily focus on reducing paper, and we do that through electronic tools that we use in purchasing. Some systems like Mountaineer Marketplace, which a lot of our departments use to purchase common supplies. My Expenses, that focuses on procurement card reconciliation and other expenses. And My Travel, which is a more efficient way for our faculty and staff to book travel needed for work, saves millions of sheets of paper per year. The shared network printing contract that we have also encourages more efficient printing by getting a lot of printers out of our offices to more central locations so that we're printing less and also using less energy from having so many machines on campus. Mountaineer Marketplace also has a green product search filter. So if you want to see products that are only made with recycled content and other sustainability features, you're able to do that. Next, we'll move on to recycling, which we know from the survey, a lot of our campus community is aware of. But in addition to day-to-day recycling that you may be aware of, we hold an annual Blue and Gold Mine Sale. And what this is it's a student move-out event. We collect usable items from students and community members. We set them up in a yard sale-like event and we sell them. And all of the proceeds go to our local United Way of Mon and Preston counties. This year's event is going to be held on Saturday, May 15th, and we're in a new location at the event tent on the south side of Bennett Tower. And you can see from the statistic on the side, it's been very successful, and we've raised over $184,000 since the inception of the sale. In addition to our day-to-day items, we also are a large institution that goes through a lot of supplies. So we make a commitment to recycling university-owned electronics, surplus furniture, ink and toner cartridges, lighting, and a host of other items. I also want to call special attention to our book recycling program. Unfortunately, hardback books are not able to be accepted in our regular single stream recycling on campus. So we try to hold a biannual event for primarily faculty and staff to get rid of any unwanted paper items from their offices. So they can submit things like hardback books, paperback books, journals, documents that are not confidential in nature, and we pick those up directly from their spaces. We're going to be holding one of those this summer in anticipation of a lot of our folks returning to campus. We also operate 4 drop-off locations for textiles on campus that are open 24 hours a day, and those items go to a local nonprofit agency. And I do want to call special attention to the stat on the right side of this slide, because it's something we're very proud of. 72% of the construction and demolition waste from Stansbury and Hodges Halls was diverted from landfill. Now we'll move on to service and learning. EcoReps is a program that's run by our office, the Office of Sustainability, where we hire student workers to run sustainability programming and activities in residence halls to have students incorporate sustainability into their daily lives. They've also implemented sustainability projects for us across campus. And one good example is a student who helped us propose green roof guidelines for construction projects. We also, as part of that Tree Campus Higher Education program, use students to help us plant trees on campus. They've planted over 50 larger trees on campus and help us maintain saplings that we plant in our rain gardens across campus. Recycle Mania is a national competition that we participate in the winter months, where we go head-to-head with other institutions across the United States and Canada to recycle as much as we can. We did take a hiatus from that because of our varying campus populations this year due to the pandemic, but we'll be returning that competition next year. And then students also get involved through S-designated courses. So we use courses that have a service learning component to move forward sustainability projects on campus. And a couple examples are students from the School of Public Health helped us administer a survey on barriers and motivations to cycling on campus. And we have also had an MDS class map bottle filling stations so that we could share that information with our campus community. And 44% of WVU's academic departments have sustainability related courses that they teach. Next, we'll move on to transportation. WVU is home to the world's only PRT system, which uses 100% electric vehicles. It's a sustainability asset that we should be very proud of on this campus. And I'll also mention that all of our track lighting for our PRT system was converted to LED a few years ago. We also provide free access to the Mountain Line transit system for all students and employees. All of those buses are equipped with bicycle racks to accommodate bicycles and allow our faculty, staff, and students to make transportation connections how they see fit. We're also very proud to be the first university in the state of West Virginia to achieve the bicycle-friendly university designation at the bronze level. We do have more work to do in this area, but we're proud to be working on infrastructure and encouragement for cycling across our campus. And finally, we'll talk about water. So WVU administers a stormwater management program that's put forth by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. And the primary way that we manage our stormwater is through rain gardens. You can see the stat on the right side, 40 plus rain gardens exist on our campus. The easiest one to see and take a look at is outside of the new Agricultural Sciences building on the Percival side. If you see that circular area that looks like a landscape bed, that is a rain garden. So that's a way that we manage our stormwater, slow it down, and filter out pollutants before it moves on through Morgantown's water system. We also, through performance contracting that I mentioned, install low flow fixtures such as shower heads in residence halls and faucet aerators in sinks across campus. And many of these fixtures can reduce water consumption by up to 50% compared to traditional fixtures. And now I will transition into talking about the STARS program. So throughout the past year, our office has partnered with more than 25 areas across campus to apply for the Sustainability Tracking, Assessment, and Rating System, STARS designation. We like to call this our sustainability report card. It's a program that's prescribed by the Association for Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education, and it's a reporting framework that focuses on different areas of sustainability performance for colleges and universities. It looks at 17 different impact areas, which are a lot of the things that I just talked about, like transportation, purchasing, dining. In addition, student engagement, curriculum, and planning and administration. This is our first submission, and we focused on the Morgantown campus only for fiscal years 2018 through 2020. And I'm very, very, very proud to announce that we achieved a silver rating, and that's valid for the next 3 years on campus. If you'd like to see the report that we submitted in detail, you can go to the link you see here on your screen. You can also go to the STARS website and look at any other institution's report. And if you're interested in a specific area of sustainability, all that information is there. So in addition to legitimizing our sustainability efforts among our peer institutions, this designation will be critical in helping us establish clear and formal sustainability goals. And now I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Ted to talk about STARS and its impacts a little more.
Thanks, Traci, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ted Svehlik. I'm the Associate Vice President of Auxiliary and Business Services here at WVU. As Stephanie mentioned at the start of our presentation, our sustainability survey from the fall of 2020 indicated that our students, faculty, and staff noticed recycling more than any other sustainability activity at WVU. But as Traci mentioned, there's so much more going on at WVU than just recycling. And this campus conversation is one part of our messaging campaign to get the word out about how many great things are happening here in sustainability. Additionally, WVU's Silver Stars rating demonstrates to our campus community and to those outside our campus that we take sustainability seriously and that we're working on incorporating it into the true fabric of our university. Next slide. We're so proud of our Silver Stars rating, but in addition to becoming a point of pride for our institution, STARS is also a way to establish benchmarks for ourselves and contrast ourselves against other colleges and universities. And we think that'll help strengthen our sustainability efforts. Sustainability can't be something that's just the responsibility of one person, one officer, one team. No one person can do this alone on our campus. And so it's important for all of us to support our sustainability efforts on campus and to help Gold and Blue make green. Our participation in the STARS program provides colleges, departments, and universities across WVU. It provides us targets that we can aspire to reach. And so while we've never published formal sustainability goals at WVU, I believe we can do better. And this particular STARS submission marks our baseline from which we expect to set specific, time-based, and measurable goals as an institution. We're excited to work with our campus community in our goal-setting process, and we think many of our goals will focus on areas that Traci's talked about, like energy, transportation, waste management, water, and purchasing. So in terms of next steps, in the near term, based on the findings of our STARS assessment, we're kicking off a number of projects, which I'm excited to talk about. The first will be an examination of WVU's fleet needs to determine whether we need all of our fleet vehicles, and potentially to modify our fleet over time to include more vehicle options like hybrids and electric vehicles. And in some cases, simply just to take cars off the road. This year, we also piloted a reusable to-go container program in the dining halls, which was very successful. And we're looking to roll that out as an expanded program in the fall. We'll also be determining how to track Scope 3 emissions for future greenhouse gas inventories. And as we look forward to buildings like Hodges Hall coming online this summer and Reynolds opening next year, we know that lots of people will be moving around campus and filling these buildings. And we're committed to ensure that we reuse and recycle our furniture and other items as folks move out of those buildings to make sure those get reused and recycled as part of those moves. In terms of longer term next steps, throughout the coming months, the Office of Sustainability will be working with key stakeholders across the university on establishing near and longer term sustainability goals. In the meantime, students, faculty, and staff can visit the STARS report and should also check out our webpage at sustainability.wvu.edu for more information, especially for details on our Earth Week 2021 virtual and physically distanced activities. As a final reminder, the Blue and Gold Mine Sale will take place at the tent on the south side of Bennett Tower on May 15th. I hope you'll please come out and join me and Traci and the rest of the team, find some amazing treasures and support our recycling efforts, and also to support the United Way. So be sure to visit the website on the screen, bluegoldmine.wvu.edu for details. And with that, I'll hand it back to Sharon.
All right, thank you, Ted. And we're now going to move to the open floor where you can ask your questions that you may have for Stephanie, Traci, or Ted. Just a reminder, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen if you would like to submit a question. As we get our questions coming in from our viewers, we did have a few that were sent in to us prior to the start of the conversation. So I'm going to start with Stephanie with the question that came in. People, of course, we know want to recycle, but they're often worried that their recycling efforts aren't actually being used in the best way. So how do we know that the items that we're recycling are actually being recycled?
Excellent question. So I would encourage those to check out our sustainability website. We have a really great dashboard that charts how much landfill and recycling is taken off of our campus on an annual basis. And we're in a unique situation where the university's recycling, the city of Morgantown, and the county recycling all gets taken and combined into one at a place called a transfer station. And then at that point, it's taken to a recycling sorting facility. And so it has always been important to us to know what our downstream picture looks like. And so members of the city, WVU, and the Solid Waste Authority actually took a visit to this sorting facility to really see the process and see how it works. And we were very encouraged to see how it gets collected and how it gets sorted by different commodities. And so I can say with great confidence that recycling is happening, and to please check our dashboard to check the success rates from years past.
All right, great. Thank you, Stephanie. This next question is for Traci. And Traci, both you and Ted touched on this a little bit in your presentations. The question has to do with greenhouse gases. Have we done a greenhouse gas inventory?
Yeah, so part of the STARS report that we submitted included a greenhouse gas inventory, and that's our first one ever. So we did include scope 1 and scope 2 emissions on that. And then Ted alluded to scope 3 emissions, which we did not include in this particular inventory. But one of the things that's a result from STARS is now we know exactly what we should be tracking every year, and we'll be able to repeat those greenhouse gas inventory reports in the future. And that gives us a benchmark of how we can choose focus areas to reduce our emissions further.
All right, great. Thank you, Traci. Ted, this next question is for you, and it's the question on everyone's mind. We've had lots of buses on campus because of the pandemic and the PRT being shut down. What's going on with the PRT, and when can people expect to see it running again?
Sharon, thank you for the question. I'm super excited that we're expecting our PRT to be back open on August 2nd, pending our progress with the COVID pandemic. But we're planning to open August 2nd, and I think that's really exciting from a green perspective. It takes cars and buses potentially off the road. But I'm also excited for this year's freshman class who may not have experienced it, and next year's freshman class to really experience a great transportation system. While the system's been down, we've been working behind the scenes to make sure that our reopening is going to be spectacular. So we've been refurbishing the cars. There'll be new flooring in them, new poles in the middle of them. And we've been working on our systems and our tracks so that reliability should be high in the fall. So assuming everyone can wear masks and we all get vaccines and all of that stuff as we move forward, we're set to reopen on August 2nd, and I couldn't be more excited for that.
Thank you, Ted. And I'm sure that is going to spread very quickly that we were planning to reopen come August. So thank you for that. We'll move to some of our questions now from our viewers. And I think, Traci, this one would be for you. The viewer is asking, how many WVU buildings are currently LEED certified? And instead of LEED, has the university considered being made to strive for WELL building certification?
Yeah, so we do actually have one LEED certified building on campus, and that's Ogilvie Hall. It wasn't a new construction building, but it did undergo an extensive renovation, and I think that was completed in about 2009. So that is our LEED certified building. All of the certified buildings get a plaque, so when you walk in the front door to the building, you can actually take a look at that. But we do include LEED features in our buildings. I am familiar with the WELL building standard, and there are a few other building standards as well. A lot of those do have an overlap. So as many of those principles that we can include, we'll try to. And I think the WELL building certification includes a lot about indoor air quality and kind of the well-being of users and occupants inside a building. So we do focus on those things, not just in sustainability, but in areas like environmental health and safety, operations, cleaning, all of those sorts of things as well.
All right, great. Thank you, Traci. And Ted, I have a follow-up question to that. We have a couple of different buildings under construction with Reynolds and Hodges. Are they going to be LEED equivalent or LEED certified? How does the university approach that with new construction? Whoops, you're on mute, Ted.
Thank you. Still getting used to this. We always seek to have our buildings LEED equivalent wherever we can. And so both Hodges and Reynolds, we're hoping to have that same LEED equivalency I got to tour Hodges just the other day, and it looks spectacular inside. So can't wait for it to reopen. And we still try to build to sustainable standards as we build all of our buildings.
All right, great. Thank
And
you,
if I
Ted.
could add just a little bit to that
Please.
as well. When we opened our new agricultural sciences building, we did have a grand opening for that. And we pointed out on building tours that day some sustainable features of our buildings that I would anticipate that we would do that as well for Hodges and Reynolds.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you, Traci. We have another viewer who aspires to be a gardener. They're going to start gardening this year. So they're wondering if there are any classes available for employees to attend. Stephanie or Traci, are you aware of anything?
I can take that one, Steph. So we don't teach gardening classes. However, I do know that Extension does a great job at that. So I would encourage you to go over to the Extension website. They produce a super popular gardening calendar every year that you can actually download from the website. And they do hold a host of classes in Mon County and all of the other 55 counties in West Virginia. So go take a look at Extension and they can help you out.
That is true, Traci. They have a wealth of knowledge, so definitely would start there for information. And a follow-up question to the gardening question, Ted, this might be for you. Someone's asking, is there a place on campus where students could have a garden?
There are some green spaces around campus where I believe we do gardening, and Traci can jump in and probably identify them better than I can, but I'd be happy to accommodate that. We've got spaces around campus that could be used for that for sure. So if it's of interest, we'd love to talk to you about it. And Traci, maybe you know some of the others that are currently on campus. I think there's one up by the water tower on Evansdale, but do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so the one Ted's referring to is a pilot dining garden on campus where we've had students involved with growing herbs that are used in Cafe Evansdale. So that's a program that kicked off from one of the provost office transformation grants. And then we also have a student garden at the Health Science Center that's run by a student organization. So those are the two current gardens.
All right, great, thank you. Ted, I think this next question might be for you. They're asking, what are the plans with planting new trees downtown since several had to be cut down recently?
Oh my goodness, I was sad to see some of our trees go. I think the sycamore that was outside Emore Hall was my favorite tree on campus. Unfortunately, as trees get older, they sometimes get brittle, and the challenge with some of those trees is they were right in the middle of campus. As Traci and I were talking about yesterday on Arbor Day, if they were in the middle of a field, we may have been able to keep them around a little bit longer, but in the middle of a student area, there's a health and safety concern. But we are a tree campus and we continue to plant trees all around campus. So just yesterday, we planted a new tree right in front of Colson Hall. Traci will keep me honest, but I believe it was a dwarf redwood. Did I get that right, Traci?
A dawn redwood.
I'm sorry?
Dawn.
A dawn redwood. I got it wrong, but it is a beautiful tree, and I'm told as it grows, we should see bright orange leaves in the fall. So we do continue to plant constantly around campus. And I think it's important that we continue to maintain that tree campus rating, and that we continue to make the campus green as we can.
And I'll add to that just a little bit. One of the tree committee has a tree care plan, and one of the goals within that plan is to actually increase our tree canopy coverage. So every year we try to plant more trees than we've had to remove for decay, weather events, those different things that happen to our trees on campus. And we're trying to expand that from 8 to 10% campus canopy coverage for trees. And that's for downtown Evansdale and Health Science Center.
And Sharon, as some of those trees come down, particularly the historic ones, we do try to, where we can, propagate from them as well. So if we can help those trees live on and as saplings someplace else, we also make that effort.
That's great. Wonderful. All right, let's move on to another question. And Traci, I think this one would go to you. They're asking, is the campus interested in developing solar roofs?
Yeah, so the university purchases electricity from the grid, and we get a bulk rate because we are a large user of that electricity. So The payback on doing expansive solar projects is longer than what we would do right now for the rate that we get for purchasing that bulk power.
Okay. And a follow-up question, someone is asking, what is the distribution of energy consumption for WVU? So what % of energy is drawn from coal? What percentage is from natural gas, hydro, et cetera?
Yeah, so we do, as I just said, purchase our electricity from the grid, and we are a regulated state, so that comes from Mon Power. I don't know their exact mix, but I do know it's probably a majority from coal-powered power generation at this point. We also do consume natural gas for some of our buildings, and we also purchase steam for heating and air conditioning.
All right, great. Thank you, Traci. Stephanie, I think this next question might be for you, and it's from a homeowner. They're asking, not sure the proper way to get rid of old paint at home. Any tips for that viewer?
Yes, that's a stubborn one, right? And especially while we're spring cleaning, it's hard to tell what we start to find in their garage spaces and closets. I will say that WVU has not hosted a household hazardous waste day. However, I would encourage individuals to check back, and especially the Morgantown City and County have hosted some of these in the past. And so I would say reach out to community collections, and oftentimes you'll find that they have household hazardous waste as well as paint collections. Sometimes there's also tire collections too. So it's really great to know that in our community, if we're not personally hosting them, there are other avenues for it.
I'll also add to that I think they have set the date for the household hazardous waste collection date. And if you look on the MUB website, Morgantown Utility Board, I think they list that date.
Perfect. All right, great. Thank you both. Let's see, Ted, I think this question would probably go to you. They're asking, is there a plan to install electric car chargers on campus? If so, what's the timeline and locations where we could find them?
So it's definitely something we're looking at. I don't have an exact timeline for it now. I think the most likely spots we'd see them would be in some of the garages, whether it's the mountain layer or otherwise. But let me try and get back to you, Sharon, with more of an exact timeline on that. It's something I know the team is reviewing. Traci, unless you've got a better timeline on it. No.
Okay, great. Well, we will follow up with that particular question. I'll stick with you, Ted, for this next one. They're asking, is there any talk in turning the road in front of the mountain lair into a green space? And if so, could vehicles then use another road?
Yeah, so this one's been a long-standing question, and I'll tell you, even as recently as a couple weeks ago, President Gee and I had the conversation, and I know he's enthusiastic towards making that happen. There's some challenges around traffic, as you can imagine. University is one of the big throughways that we use to get across town. It would mean rerouting our traffic flow different ways around the layer. The good news is, as I came into this role, people offered me up plans that have been done in the past that, that we've been looking at this for years. And so I think we've got a good base to take a look at it. I think we need to balance sort of creating that beautiful, hopefully quad type campus in front of the mountain layer with our transportation needs as well. But as recently as this afternoon, I was talking with my staff about it, and it's something we're absolutely looking at. So.
All right, more to come on that. You're right. That question's been around for decades, I think, of how to deal with that space. Let's see. I think, Traci, this question would be for you. They're asking, to increase the planting of trees around campus, what resources are needed? And for that matter, what other resources could be contributed by the WVU community to help with all of our endeavors on campus?
Yeah, so we do have dedicated annual expenditures on planting of trees and tree care and maintenance. So there is a budget for that. The tree committee has also been successful in receiving some grants, primarily through the West Virginia Division of Forestry for trees. In addition, we're also working on a program to use the wood from campus trees that we've had to remove to raise money for further tree activities. I will also say that while we'd love to have trees absolutely everywhere, there are also some reasons why we won't plant trees in certain areas Perhaps if that's a future possible building site. We do have a lot of underground utilities in different areas on campus, so sometimes it wouldn't be safe to, or we wouldn't be able to access the utilities when we need to if we had a tree in that area, and we wouldn't want to plant a tree to later have to dig it up. So sometimes we don't want to plant in certain areas.
And that's good to know, because you're right. People do see open spaces and think we should plant there. So great explanation for that. Ted, I'm not sure you'll have the answer to this question, but we'll go ahead and ask and see. They're asking, what is the future of the hot water plant on the Mon River? Will it ever disappear?
I'm guessing they're meaning the steam plant off of Beechhurst just down from campus. That plant has been there for quite a while, as most people know. It provides steam to our campus and to our hospital. Recently, it moved away from burning coal or coal products. So you don't see the smoking trucks driving up on Boulevard anymore, which has been a bit of progress. They've switched that plant over to natural gas. We're actually in the process of building our energy and steam plan for the future, and we'll be RFPing out as a campus community to try and understand whether there are better ways for us to generate steam. We're looking at options, including geothermal and some others that may allow us a more environmentally friendly way of going about generating steam. TBD on that one, but we're looking at the possibilities of potentially either bringing a cleaner steam solution, on campus, or working with our existing partner to change our profile at that plant.
All right, great. Thank you, Ted. And this is probably for both you and Traci, Ted and Traci. A couple of questions about downtown campus. They're asking if there's any plans to beautify University Avenue, especially in front of the Lair, if it is not close to traffic, that they don't really like the brick and asphalt look. And then another person is also asking, what about the tree that used to be in front of Stewart Hall that came down a few years ago? Any plans to replace that? So what's the thoughts around beautifying the downtown campus?
Ted, you want to take the first one and I'll take the second one?
Sure, let me take the first one. So the answer is absolutely. We've kicked off, we've called it our 3R campaign, but the first R in the 3R campaign is to reawaken our campus. And I hope you all saw that, as the spring happened, you've seen tulips and other things, out blooming. Our campus is really starting to look beautiful. We're looking at that whole landscaping profile. From basically Stewart Hall down to the existing B&E building, and looking at our plant profile there as well. So there may be, I think this summer you'll see as we get into our second R, which is revitalizing our campus, you may see a cleaner, crisper look for some of the trees there. We've got some bushes that are reasonably overgrown. Those will get trimmed up. There'll be some additional plantings that we hope to put in as well. And so I think you'll see a cleaner, crisper look to it, where those big overgrown bushes in front of the mountain layer will be brought back into a better state or replanted, and you'll see a cleaner look across Emore Hall, for example. So we're excited about it. We've our third R is reopening in the fall, and we're hoping to make a big, beautiful presence for our students as they come back to campus, and that we get our whole campus community back together on what is a beautiful historic campus. So Traci, what I missed, or do you want to talk about the hall or the tree in front of Stewart?
Yeah, so I think that's a reference to, there was a maple that stood in front of Stewart Hall that actually blew over several years ago in a weather event. And there are no current plans to replace a tree in that particular location. It's a pretty small yard area. So we want to make sure we give our trees room to grow and the best chance of survival. And it's not the best planting location for replacement in particular.
All right, thank you both. Traci, this question is for you and is a bit more of a procurement question. They're asking, when we evaluate sellback programs or proceeds, when we evaluate sellback proceeds on electronic equipment, we often get estimates from the university sanctioned buyer. They come in at about 2/3 of what Apple's buyback program offers for the same devices. What value added does the approved buyer provide to justify this?
Could you repeat that one for me one more time? I want to make sure I followed before I answer.
So when we evaluate sellback proceeds on electronic equipment, we often get estimates from the university's sanctioned buyer that come in about 2/3 of what Apple's buyback program offers for the same devices. What value added does the approved buyer provide to justify this?
So we do have legislative mandates about how we are to dispose of surplus property, and that would include everything from furniture to electronics. From a sustainability standpoint, our primary concern is that that gets recycled, but we also do need to follow those rules, obviously. So I'd have to check on the official rules for that. But recycling is our primary objective there. So there may be some room to adjust those if something is not currently practiced on campus that could be advantageous for us financially and sustainability wise.
Okay, great. And we can follow up on that question later within our follow-up that we do from these conversations, or if the viewer has a specific question they want to ask and can clarify that a bit more, we can do that as well. Traci, we also had a question that came in that asks, we are a tree campus. What specifically is that? Can you define what that is?
Yeah, so we are technically a tree campus higher education. There's also a hospital designation for a hospital campus. And that's a national program run by the Arbor Day Foundation. So there are 5 requirements that we have to meet, but basically it says, make sure we're making good decisions about planting, maintaining, and protecting campus trees. So we do have a service learning component that's a requirement. We have to involve students in planting trees on campus. We have to celebrate Arbor Day. We have dedicated tree expenditures, and we have a tree campus committee that makes decisions about trees on campus. In addition, we have a tree care plan, and I think ours has 5 goals, but you can check all of that out on our website. There's a tree campus tab, and you can look at our activities to date. We have all of our trees inventoried on campus, so all of our trees actually have a tag and a number, and you can look at that number and then go back to the website and look up what species is that tree? What's the diameter of that tree? Have we done pruning to that tree? So we have a pretty extensive inventory also on the website.
All right. Thank you, Traci. Ted, did you have something else?
No, not on that one.
Okay. Great, great. I want to make sure I got you. Let's see, Stephanie, we have another recycling question. They're asking, what is the best way to dispose of old electronics? I have an old computer at home that I no longer use and does not work. I think many of us have that sitting in our homes. So what can we do with those?
Absolutely. So there's actually 2 kind of options I'm thinking of. If it's an immediate need, absolutely, I would recommend checking out moncountyrecycling.com. They're a great resource, and you can they will break it down by each commodity and what vendors locally will accept them. But I will say that from time to time, the Office of Sustainability will host a free electronics recycling event for our faculty, staff, and students. And these are for personal electronics that they can bring in. So when we do those events, we always announce them through eNews. So I would just recommend checking back on eNews and hearing when our next upcoming event should be.
So Sharon, to that
Yep.
point, on moncountyrecycling.com, if you go there, they have things like, what to do with your PC, what to do with things with screens like monitors and otherwise, whether they work or not. And I just add, there's also the option, if it's still a working computer or otherwise, sometimes Morgantown Goodwill is a great option as well. So not just recycling, but reuse as a potential option there.
And I will say, if it is still usable, I would definitely encourage donating it to our Blue and Gold Mine sale. But I believe they referred to broken. But if it's usable, please give it to us. We will find a new home for it.
All great ideas. Perfect. Let's see. I think, Traci, this question will go to you. We have a viewer who wants to plant some trees at their home. Any suggestions on how to find out what would be the best trees to plant for the area they live in?
I'm also going to go back to WVU Extension for that one. They have great resources on plants and trees and what kind of species are native to our area and thrive in our climate zone based on our weather patterns. So they would be a good resource for that. Also, if this person happens to have friends in the Davis College, that would be a great resource to to reach out to one of those folks as well. We do have some tree expert on the faculty in the Davis College.
And I'll tell you, I learn every day from our roads and grounds team. So as you see the roads and grounds teams out planting trees or mulching or mowing lawns, I learned so much about our plant life and tree life from them as well. So feel free to ask. They're here to help.
All right, great. And this next question may be for both Traci and Ted, so I'll read it and then we can answer how you feel best. They're saying the infrastructure, energy, recycling, accounting that's being done is great, but is there any thought going into how the various WVU systems interact? And are there any plans to do these same sort of surveys and programs on our divisional campuses?
Sorry, Sharon, I missed the question. Can you say that again for me?
Sure, it's kind of a two-parter. So one, they're saying the infrastructure, energy, recycling, accounting is really great, but is there thought into how all of these WVU systems interact? And then a second question of what are we doing on our divisional campuses to look at recycling and energy, et cetera?
Traci, you want to start?
You want to do the first part and I'll do the second part, or?
Go for it. Go for it.
Okay, so on the first question, yes, we do undergo a master planning process on campus, and we're getting ready to undertake that process. So that's a time when we look at our facilities as a whole and how all of those things do interact, whether that's buildings or infrastructure, utilities, transportation, all of those things kind of interact in that process. And then to the second question on regional campuses, we do practice sustainability on our regional campuses. Right now, that's primarily through performance contracting that I mentioned in the presentation. We've been through some buildings on those regional campuses as part of that process and made upgrades, and also through recycling. Both our Beckley and Kaiser campuses recycle in a little bit different ways than we do here on the Morgantown campus, but those are the primary activities right now on those regional campuses.
Okay, great. Stephanie, another question for you dealing with recycling. They're asking any suggestions on how to shred private documents we have at home?
Absolutely. So the university has a contract with PACE Enterprises, which is a local nonprofit, and I believe they also accept personal jobs as well. And you know, we've had a long-standing service with them, and we've been very pleased with what they provide. So I can imagine someone bringing residential personal documents would feel just as confident as we do with their process.
All right, great. Thank you, Stephanie. And we're almost up at our 2 o'clock hour. So we have one more question I'm going to pose to Traci, and that is, how do we compare to other institutions as we work along all these goals to be a better institution? How do we compare to our peers?
Yeah, so as I said in the presentation, we've achieved a silver rating, which is a very solid footing to benchmark and start forming our sustainability goals. But we do take a look at our peer institutions as far as size, geographic region, campus population, and just some examples of that. Penn State is a gold institution. Virginia Commonwealth is a silver institution as well. In our Big 12 region, Oklahoma State is a silver institution. So we are kind of on level footing with a lot of our institutions that are similar to us.
All right, great. Thank you, Traci. And I want to thank everyone for attending today's campus conversation. It's been a really great, engaging discussion. And on behalf of Stephanie, Traci, and Ted, we appreciate the opportunity to be here with you and provide an update on sustainability at WVU. Be sure to visit the Office of Sustainability website for more information and to see what's in store for the rest of Virtual Earth Week 2021. You can also contact the sustainability team at sustainability@mail.wvu.edu with any further questions. An archived version of this campus conversation will be available on the Bureaucracy Busters website later today. And be sure to watch Mountaineer eNews for upcoming campus conversations as well. And as a reminder, you may continue to submit any questions you have to campusconversations@mail.wvu.edu. Again, thank you for taking part in today's discussion, and please continue to stay safe and be well.